So in this tutorial, I'll show you how to modify a bone based on damage. So it doesn't have to be damage, but it will be in this case. But it's basically just showing you how to modify a bone using a timeline based on any kind of trigger. So look, if there's a pain causing volume over here, so if I walk into it, my head will go big and small. Let's go. So in my comments in my YouTube channel, Steel Fueled asked me if I could do a modified bone to make the aim down sight animation. That is quite a complicated thing to do. It's not super complicated, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you just like a starter point. So I'm going to show you how to modify a bone and how to change it based on an event and with an animation timeline. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our content drawer. We're going to find our third person character. So if you right click on here and go reference viewer, it pulls up a graph that looks like this, and it's showing what the dependents are. So everything that's dependent on the third person character, either way, if it's dependent or the other thing is dependent on them. What we want to do is we want to find our animation blueprint, which is here. So you can right click and you can go browse to asset and it will show you where it is. We're going to double click that to open it up. And we also need to find where our skeletal mesh is. So we're going to right click, browse to asset, and we're going to open that up. You can also go into your third person character if you want to find your skeletal mesh, and you can click on this bit, browse to asset. If you want to find your animation blueprint, you can click on here, browse to asset. But we've got them opened up for now anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the skeletal mesh of our character and we're going to look at his skeleton. So you've got like the root, the bottom, pelvis and all stuff. I make my own skeletal meshes and my own characters and stuff, but I know a lot of people do like messing around with the default stuff, and the default stuff is actually a lot better because it's a lot more tightly coded. But so yeah, so you've got like the spine and all that stuff, right? I'm going to scroll down and head is somewhere down here. Head. So you see, if I turn this, if I click on head, this is the head bone. If I rotate it that way, it'll go up. Control Z to undo your last movement. Right, so that's fine. We're going to copy and save that. What we need is the name of this bone. It's just head. Quite easy to remember. So we're going to go into our animation blueprint. So on your animation blueprint, you've got your event graph, you've got your main stage, and you've got your animation graph. On the animation graph, we're going to right click and we're going to put modify bone. And then you get, it's called transform modify bone, and you get a node that looks like this. If I grab this, drag it into there, you see that one comes up. And then if you drag that into there, and then that one comes up. If we click on this transform modify bone, it needs a bone to modify, and you can just click on this and you can look which one you want to do, but you can just type it, you can just copy it in, you see. So if you copied the display name of your, if you right click on the skeletal mesh and put copy bone names, then go to your animation graph and then bone to modify, paste. Oh, that should have went in then. I don't know why it didn't. Okay, so forget that. So right, so but you do need, they do need to be the exact name of the thing. So we're going to click head, compile and save. It's still not doing anything because you see this translation, rotation and scale, it needs some information. So you've got rotate, translation, rotation and scale. On scale mode, we're going to put add to existing, compile and save. Right, so it's ignoring the rotation, it's ignoring the translation. If I put this to 1.4, 1.4, 1.4, compile and save. Now look, my character's got a big head because I've modified the bone, but you can do something even more interesting. If we go back into our animation graph and we set this back to 1, 1, 1, what we can do is we can go to our third person character, go to event graph, and we're going to make a transform variable. So we're going to go down to variables and put this bone size, and this will be a transform. Compile, save. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go back into our animation blueprint, and we're going to get this variable so we can use it in this scale. So go to your event graph, and I'm not super up on the event graph of the animation blueprint for the default characters because, like I say, I always use my own. So you won't be able to get this variable from this caster character. So what we're going to do is we're going to, just for now, we're just going to cast to third person character. So come out of this and go cast to third person character. And then you see this one, get owning actor. We're going to get that there as well. Get owning actor. So you could just grab that Control C, Control V and get another one and plug that in. Right, and then on this as third person character, we're going to promote to variable. So now we can get that variable that we made in our third person character called bone size. So on this, where it says event blueprint update animation, on the sequence, add a sequence pin. And then because we've got the third person character variable, we're going to drag this in. And out of this, we're going to get bone size. This is the variable that we made, the transform variable. And then out of this get bone size, we're going to create a new variable, promote that to variable. And it will just be called bone size, but this is kind of the same as this variable, but it's not because it's a new variable in the animation blueprint. So they're both called bone size, but this one is the new one that we've made in the animation blueprint, right? And then on the animation graph, we're going to get bone size and we're going to drag it in, get bone size, and we're going to right click and split structure pin because we only want the scale, right? You can plug them all in, but I'll speak a bit more in a bit about that. We're going to drag get bone scale into scale. Compile, save. Now the scale is just normal. It's not doing anything, right? What we're going to do is go to third person character and we're going to make the head swell up and down when it takes damage. So if you haven't got an event any damage, get an event any damage, and it's just this node there. You just type event any damage, right? We're going to make a timeline. So right click and type timeline, and then double click into this timeline and create a track, a float track. We're going to make it say 2 seconds. So go up to length 2 seconds. Right click here, add key to float. This will be at time 0, value 1. Then scroll a bit across and put add key to float and put this at time 2, value 1. And then this will zoom out so we can see them. And then go to the middle and put time 0.5, value 1.4. Add key to float, time 1, value 1. Add key to float, time 1.5, value 1.4. So really that's just going up and down. I mean, you could just cut this in half and have it loop in, or it'll only do it once, but this is just an example. Left click and drag like a box over this, and you can right click on the button on one of the blue dots and put user, and see now it's more like a curved. Compile and save. And then we're going to go to our event graph, and what we're going to do is on event any damage, we're going to come out of this and go play from start, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to update this bone size in the transform. So drag this in and put set, and then on this right click and split structure pin, and see now we've got the bone scale. And in our timeline, we made it from 1 to 1.4 to 1 to 1.4 to 1, right? So that's what it's going to do. So if this is the new track that we made, see it's called new track underscore 0. We're going to drag new track underscore 0 into this. See, bone scale at the moment is 111, rotation 000, bone location 000, but the bone scale is 111. So we're going to drag this in, right? So on update, if we put this in there like that, this timeline is making this bone transform, this variable, when we split it, this one is the same as this bone scale here. It's making it within a 2-second time. It's making it go from 1 to 1.4 to 1 to 1.4 to 1. So if you compile and save now, we don't need to do anything in the animation blueprint, but I'll show you what we've done, right? Because in the animation blueprint, look, we're getting this variable that we put in the third person character, this bone size, and we're saying use this variable to determine the scale of this bone. So this event graph that we got the variable from is updating every time. So whenever this bone scale changes, this transformed body will change. This transformed bone will change. So if you don't have one, put a pain causing volume in. This will just give you damage. Go to volume, pain causing volume. This is one here that I've dragged in already. Right, what you'll see now is when I walk into that, my head will go big and small. So my head is at scale 1. Now it's going 1 to 124, and it's doing it twice like in the timeline. So it's going 1. See, so it's going ow, ow. So it's going 1, 1, 1.4, 1, 1.4, and then going back down to 1. See, so that's how you sort of modify bones. But what you can do is that was just scale. So what the question was asked, if it could do the aim thing with your hands. So that is slightly more complicated, but you can, it is kind of the same thing as what I've just done here. So you'd be using like IKs or RKs, inverse kinetic, I can't remember what it's called, right? But you'd be using that on the hand, and the hand would be moving, and it would be moving the arm with it and stuff like that. And what you do is in your third person character, when you have an aim down sight input, so it wouldn't be off an evented damage, it'd be like off an input, like an enhanced input thing like this, like started or triggered. And then on this, you'd run the timeline for it to pull the hand up. And then in the animation blueprint, you'd set the translation and the rotation of the hand. So you could adjust it like that. But yeah, I hope that's helped, and it's not too messy. That is quite, for a beginner, that's quite a complicated thing to grab all parts of it. But what I would suggest is, if you're a brand new beginner, go to Mixamo, download a character, and download animations, and learn how to make an animation blueprint with blend spaces. And then when you get comfortable with that, learn how to make an aim offset, and then start learning how to modify bones and stuff. But yeah, modifying bones is not super difficult, but if you haven't got the knowledge of some other things, it can seem quite overwhelming. But yeah, if you follow through that, what I just did, you should be able to get along with it. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.